no guilt, just growth. I'm Kristen Pomper, wife, coach, and corporate working mom of two. I help ambitious working moms stop running on empty and start building lives they're obsessed with, without the guilt or burnout. I'm on a mission to redefine what success looks like for moms, because one thing I know for sure, it's not about putting everyone else's needs above your own. If you're ready to stop surviving and start thriving, you're in the right place. Hi, friend. Welcome back. Thanks so much for choosing to spend some of your day with me today. If you've ever felt like nothing you do is ever good enough, like you're constantly falling short because you're chasing an invisible standard, then today's episode is for you. Because today we're discussing what perfectionism really is, how it impacts your parenting and your kids, the difference between perfectionism and excellence, which I think is what you should really be striving for, and practical strategies to embrace imperfection while still thriving. Let's start by first defining what perfectionism is. Perfectionism isn't just having high standards, it's the relentless pursuit of being flawless, of being free from defects. It's refusing to accept any standard short of perfect. And it's often driven by some sort of negative emotions like fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And the trickiest part of perfectionism is that we tie those things to our identity. We make it mean something about our worth, like something is wrong with us personally. We end up saying things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not a good mom, I'm not a good wife, or a good person. And we chase this impossible standard, hoping that if we achieve it, we'll finally feel worthy or whole. But the reality is that we're never satisfied, because as soon as we achieve whatever it is that we're after, we're on to the next thing. We hop from goal to goal, never stopping to celebrate. Does any of that sound familiar? Because it sure does for me. I know this feeling all too well, like nothing is ever good enough. I feel like I have been a perfectionist for as long as I can remember. And I think I always just chalked it up as my type A personality, as being detail oriented, or just particular. It showed up everywhere for me, with school, in sports, at work. But here's what I grew to realize about perfectionism. I was self-imposing these impossibly high standards on myself because I was assuming others expected me to be perfect. I found myself seeking validation and approval from other people who I thought would think less of me if I messed up or failed. I was constantly worried that others were judging my work, my actions, and my worth. And I felt this sense of shame and embarrassment, like this deep insecurity of not aligning or meeting those perceived impossible expectations. And then as soon as I became a mom, those feelings only amplified. I felt like I was put under a microscope, every decision being watched like a hawk, because the perfect mom pressure, it's so real. That's why over time, I began to understand that perfectionism was really just a mask I was wearing to protect myself. It was shielding me from vulnerability, criticism, and shame. We avoid things, we avoid decisions or taking action, not because we strive for perfection, but because we fear being seen as inadequate if we fail or we make the wrong decision. We're using it as a mechanism to protect ourselves from the discomfort of failure or judgment of being seen as less than. And here's the truth that I wish I would have realized sooner. No matter how perfect you try to be, somebody will always criticize or dislike the choices you make, just like there will be other people who admire and respect that choice. When you're chasing this elusive thing of perfection and striving for 100% acceptance, you're after something unattainable, because you can never satisfy everyone, especially when it comes to the choices you're making as a mom. Whether you choose to bottle feed or breastfeed, whether you choose to stay at home or be a working mom, maybe it's sleep training or not sleep training, everyone has a differing opinion. So instead of trying to meet an impossible standard or seek anyone else's approval, focus on doing what's best for you and your family and accept that differing opinions are inevitable. There are always going to be naysayers. Perfectionism, especially in parenting, also has real consequences. I'm already starting to see perfectionist tendencies show up in Olivia, and she's only 3. And I know that she's getting those tendencies from me, which has made me realize that your kids are watching you more than you think. They're noticing how you respond to mistakes, how you handle frustration, how you talk to yourself, and how you treat yourself. If you constantly chase perfection, your kids will mirror that behavior. They'll grow up believing they must never fail to be worthy. And here's the scariest thing about that. What you're really teaching them is that your love is conditional. That if they're not hitting your invisible standards or unrealistic expectations, they won't receive the love and care that they crave. Here's another thing I realized about perfectionism. It leads to emotional disconnection. And if you listen to any of Dr. Becky Kennedy's material, she talks heavily about how connection is arguably the single most important thing to build with your kids. But when we're obsessed with this flawless execution, we shut down emotions like stress, anxiety, or sadness. And when we don't own those imperfect emotions, we're unintentionally distancing ourselves from our kids. We become so unrelatable. We're distancing ourselves from our kids. And that leads us to become less present. And if we're not present, our kids feel it too. When we don't model handling those imperfect emotions, we teach our kids to suppress theirs. So instead, what I've started to do is model my struggles, to narrate my frustrations out loud. I want Olivia and Grady to see me being imperfect, embracing it. For example, if I'm doing a puzzle with Olivia, I will narrate out loud how tough of a time I'm having finding the right piece. I'll try to fit it into various different areas. She sees me frustrated, but she also sees me not giving up. I'm modeling resilience in real time. Fail in front of your kids. Make mistakes in front of them. Talk about them out loud. Narrate it out loud. The other way I see perfectionism show up in my life is this deep sense of wanting to control everything. What I've realized about parenting is that it can be powerless in a lot of ways. We've got our little hearts walking around outside of our bodies. We no longer have complete control. We can't control their every situation. We can't control what our child does or the experiences that they have. We're trying to deal with this powerlessness that we feel in this vulnerable situation that's called parenthood. That's what parenthood is. It's vulnerable. It's hard to love someone so much and be so scared yet so excited for what's to come. It's like having exposed nerves all the time. And in response, we turn to perfectionism tendencies to try and control, to feel safe. But motherhood, it's messy. Life is messy. It's okay to not have it all figured out. I don't care how type A you are. It's okay to not be fully prepared. It's okay to not have everything that you thought you'd have figured out. We're all just trying to muddle our way through and do our best. And I feel like us as women, we've become obsessed. It's like we're addicted to perfection. Everything has to look flawless. The house, the meals, the schedules, the kids' routines, our careers, our bodies, our social lives. And to be completely honest, I feel that in my bones. I am her. I am women. I crave all of those things and I crave them all at the most elite level. But here's the truth. It's just not reality. It sure as hell hasn't been my experience, and I know it hasn't been yours either. And none of us should take that personally. It doesn't mean that we're failing or broken or doing anything wrong. We're human, we're learning, we're growing, and I don't care what anyone's highlight reel shows, nobody has the flawlessness that they lead on to have. So here's the shift that I think needs to happen. We should be striving for excellence, not perfection. And I'm not asking you to settle. I'm not asking you not to have high standards. I'm asking you to shift your focus from chasing these impossible standards to taking consistent action and making progress. Here's the best way I can describe the difference between perfectionism and excellence. Perfectionism is external. It's about meeting standards, real or imagined, that are often set by someone else or by societal expectations. You're focused on what others will think of your house, your meals, your kids' schedules, your career, or even your parenting choices. The driving force is fear of judgment, criticism, or not being good enough. And that's exhausting because you're constantly measuring yourself against external benchmarks that you'll never really satisfy. Excellence, on the other hand, is internal. It's about doing things to the best of your ability based on standards you've set for yourself, not for or by anyone else. You may not receive validation or recognition for it, and that's okay. Yet you still act with intention and care, prioritizing quality, presence, and growth over image. It's about the effort you put in, the intention behind it, and whether you're doing your best and doing what's best for you and your family rather than appearances or accolades. At first, I really struggled to understand the differences. So, here's a few examples of how I think this plays out for us moms. Take mealtime. Perfectionism would look like you stressing about plating, nutritional balance, or social media worthy meals. Anxiety overshadows the moment. What excellence looks like is you make a meal that nourishes your family and gives you a chance to connect, even if it's not beautiful or Instagram worthy. The focus is on intentional care, not perfection. Or take bedtime routines. Perfectionism is you getting frustrated if the routine isn't executed flawlessly, judging yourself, saying you're a bad mom for a missed step or a fussy kid. On the other hand, excellence looks like you maintaining a loving and consistent routine, adapting when needed, staying calm and present. The goal is connection and growth. Another example, when you're taking time to take care of yourself. Perfectionism would look like I'm not going to work out because I don't have a perfect hour or I don't have the right gear. Whereas excellence is you committing to some sort of movement, even in imperfect conditions, because you care about your energy, your health, and long-term growth. Or let's say you make some sort of parenting mistake. Maybe you yell at your kids or you slam a door. Perfectionism is when that mistake feels like failure and you tie it to your identity. You're saying, I'm not a good mom because I made this terrible mistake. Whereas excellence, you own the mistakes, you narrate them, and you model repair. You admit to them, and your kid sees that trying, failing, and learning is part of life. Excellence, it's internally driven and tied to values. It means you're intentional, present, and doing your best in a way that aligns with your priorities, not someone else's expectations. It's about adapting, learning, improving, and evolving. It allows you to be the mom, the spouse, the woman that you want to be without the crushing weight of impossible expectations. It's not about being flawless. It's about being fully present, fully engaged, and fully yourself. What I hope you take away from today is that your kids don't need you perfect. They need love, presence, and vulnerability. Our job as moms is to prepare our kids so that they can be contributing human beings. And we all know that once they're on their own, life is going to throw them curveballs. They're going to face adversity. They're going to fail. Set them up for success by modeling it, narrating it, talking about it, showing them about how to face it, how to embrace it. When you model imperfection, when you teach them that it's safe to try and fail and learn, you're showing them how to handle those situations. Here's a few ways to put this into practice this week as a mom. Focus on effort and progress, not flawlessness. Compliment the process, not the outcome. Notice your child's effort, your own effort, and the little wins each day. Praise attempts, not results. Model mistakes, narrate your own small failures or challenges out loud so your kids see that it's safe to fail and try again. Remember your purpose. Let your parenting values and family priorities guide your actions, not fear of judgment or social comparison. Recognize the costs of perfectionism. Notice when perfectionism is stealing connection with your kids, your partner, or yourself. Practice self-compassion and grace. If you're anything like me, you're ruthlessly self-critical of yourself. Your self-talk is so harsh. Begin just to recognize how you're talking about yourself to yourself. What is your inner critic saying? Even beginning to notice the words you're saying to yourself helps to disassociate yourself from it. When your inner critic starts to flare up, practice thinking more positively, more gracefully to yourself. This is the hard work, but over time, these kinder, more forgiving words will become automatic. And then lastly, let's release the fear of judgment. Remind yourself that other people's opinions about your parenting, your routines, or your choices aren't your responsibility. Focus on what works for you and your values. Next time you feel the pressure to do it perfectly, just pause and ask yourself, am I striving to meet someone else's standard, or am I putting my heart and effort into something that matters to me and my family? That's the line between perfectionism and excellence, and that's where the freedom lies. Motherhood and life, it's messy. You don't have to be perfect. If today's episode helped you in any way, I'd be so grateful if you took a moment to rate and review the show. Reviews are the single fastest way for new podcasts to reach more ears, and they help get this message out to more moms who might be feeling just like you did before hitting play. Thank you for helping me spread the love and grow this community. I hope you have an incredible week, and I will talk to you in the next episode.